This is E-lectric, your source for news and views on the FIA Formula E Championship. Hello and welcome to E-lectric. I'm Janice Rochford and this is the circuit board, where I'll be joined by a rotating panel of those in the know about your Formula E Championship. Okay, everyone, welcome to E-lectric. This is a very shortened circuit board for the qualifying roundup of the Putrajaya E-Prix. With me tonight is Jack Giordmania from Formula E Zone. Thanks for joining me, Jack. I know it's very early for you.
Yes, no, it's a pleasure for me to be here.
That's great to have you. So we're just going to run through very quickly the qualifying. It was quite an eventful qualifying session on a track that proved to catch a lot of people out.
Yeah, it was surprising, to be fair, considering like the field of drivers that we have. A lot of people hitting the wall, especially like a lot of them have Monaco and street circuit experience where it's really tight. So it either proves that the track itself is actually really tight at the moment. But, you know, you don't expect that from drivers like Sebastian Boy and Lucas Di Grassi to be making those sort of high-profile mistakes, you could say.
Exactly, and it looks like quite a wide track. It doesn't look that tight. It's just those cars. Maybe it's just the tyres. They just sit right on the edge of those tyres constantly, and it's so easy to step the back out and hit the wall.
Yeah, and also I think the one practice session might not have helped the teams in terms of like setting up. Yes, it was a longer session and they lost 10 minutes of it. But in terms of, obviously, they would have learnt the data from the first session like we would have had in China. They would have gone through, recycled that information, but they didn't have a chance to really do that. And then once that session was finished, it was an hour later qualifying's here. So you can't really do too much to a car in an hour.
No, not much at all. And the good thing to come out of Beijing was that they reinforced the gearboxes. So we should not see as many gearbox penalties beforehand. Obviously, we haven't got the information yet. I'd be surprised if Jaime Al-Shawari does not need a new gearbox after that tap. It looked quite heavy. But, yeah, it was great to see Spark do some work there and reinforce the gearboxes, because that was a really disappointing part of Beijing to see.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of, obviously, all you want parts to be reliable. You don't want to be changing parts left, right, and centre. And then also, you know, that rises the cost. And we don't want to have, you know, teams, you know, struggling with costs at this early stage, let's say. But in Spark itself, you know, they got 40 cars to make. So if they have to keep supplying gearboxes for 40 cars, then, you know, it's not going to be a profitable situation. So it's good that they did that. A lot of battery changes, though, today.
Yes.
For quite a number of cars, but you know we're still working on the little niggles, but should all be sorted soon.
And they did make some regen changes due to the heat, pulling less energy from the regen into the batteries. The Williams were worried that they were just going to pull up too much heat into the batteries, which is a very bad thing for those type of batteries. I'm reliably informed by my engineer husband. So let's get on to Group 1. That was Senna, Brabham, Stefan Sarrazin, Daniel Abt and Nelson Piquet Jr. Again, Piquet Jr. just drove the wheels off it, but didn't manage to pip and drove, well, quite literally drove the wheels off it in the end. But Daniel Abt did finish on top in that group. Matthew Brabham looked good for a few moments, but yeah, Senna continued his run of not really having any luck there.
Yeah, Senna is like, in practice, he's doing exactly what he did in China. He was lining up the timing screens, purple sector, purple sector, purple sector. Then he get into qualifying and just can't deliver. And we know Senna can deliver, but it's just a shame that he can't. And with Nelson Piquet, he again in practice and in the beginning stage of qualifying, he was quick, and throughout practice he was topping the timesheets, and we were like, oh look, China Racing might have made some improvements for this weekend. But it just didn't show in qualifying. I don't know what happened at the end. He sort of just like ran out of energy, it seemed, on his slowdown lap, which caused the red flag. But
I think there's a lot to learn with these cars, as you said earlier, and PK comes from that rallying, what is it, rallycross, and they really just drive the wheels off those things. So I think he's probably struggling to dial it back a bit to manage this car.
That's what we want to see, though.
Yeah, exactly. And it does. Those cars look exciting when they drive them just on the edge. So it's fantastic. Matthew Brabham, obviously, it's not his first time in this car. He did a little bit of testing, but nice result from him to be in 11th. He'll be 12th after Prost's penalty, but it's a nice result for the young, not Australian as everyone keeps telling me, but I'm going to claim him anyway. He's Australian.
He's definitely got Australian heritage.
That's right. I mean, there's no better Australian racing heritage than Brabham, really. So, Group 2, we had Kurun Chandok, Jarno Trulli, Michele Chiruti, Frank Montagny, and Hoping Tung from China Racing. Again, the Trulli racing cars, Trulli put it up there.
Trulli was, my man of the qualifying, you could say, or the person from qualifying, because what he did with that car was amazing, and the lap time he did, and he said that at the end of it, he was disappointed, he was angry when he got out of that car. He was like, we could have gone so much faster. He was saying that, the Williams, they were, trying to have a look at the car, and they couldn't get full power from the car. So what could have Jarno Trulli done with that car if they managed to actually get full power from it? He could have been further, he could have been in the top 3 maybe.
Yep, I agree.
What great achievement from Jarno Trulli. I think, it shows maybe Michaela still needs a little bit of improvement, a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of learning with the car, because she's still struggling, but there are quite a few teammates and quite a few drivers, you could say, that are struggling with this Formula E car compared to what they normally drive. So, and obviously with the big gap that we've had, 70-day period of not driving these cars, and they've been driving everything else in between,
couldn't agree more. It's great to see Jarno pull some times out of that car, and they've definitely made a big improvement between the last race and this race. Obviously, the biggest improvement is Dragon Racing, and they were both in Group 3, hoping Oriol Servia and Jerome D'Ambrosio were with Nicola Prost, Sebastian Buemi, and Nick Heidfeld. Again, Buemi, he's got no luck. This is win the World Championship, then just not make it through qualifying.
Just come back to a sport where you didn't have much luck. Might as well stayed in the World Endurance Championship and enjoyed your championship a little bit.
That's
and
right.
Come back to the sport that's not doing too well for you at the moment. But I'm sure he'll have a good race. Hopefully, if it goes his way. In terms of, obviously last time it didn't go his way, in terms of obviously the rear wing failed. So if he can have a good race, and there are possible chances to overtake in this track, it's probably going to be one of the best overtaking tracks that we could see this season in terms of lots of room to manoeuvre. So there are chances to overtake. So I wouldn't count Sebastian Buemi out, even though he's starting from 17th place.
Yep, and I agree. And there's going to be some great moves from the back. I think we've got Montagny down there, Buemi down there. Obviously, Prost will be coming from 11th. There's going to be a lot of movement through the field from those experienced drivers. Oriol Servia kind of surprised me. They're Dragon Racing.
I think they surprised everyone. They said they've been, having a lot of work done and, working on the car, and it's proved you can't, you've had a 70-day period, and they had a sort of average Beijing race, to be fair. They weren't really anywhere, just in the mid-fact fine with Amlin Guri. And now they've got a front row lockout after Nicholas's Prost's penalty. So, what a transformation in 70 days. You don't normally see that in racing. No. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in a couple of hours' time. How long they can keep on for that lead.
And I don't think, as much as Jerome D'Ambrosio would like them to drive side by side, I don't think going side by side into that first corner is a very good idea at all.
No, not at all.
No, that's not a good corner. The final group was Sam Bird, Jaime Al-Zashwari, Lucas Di Grassi, Antonio Felix da Costa, and Catherine Legg. Now, Lucas Di Grassi made a mess of that session.
Yes, he did. As I said at the beginning, it was an uncharacteristic mistake. It's a mistake that we were seeing a lot through qualifying, and we were like, why are these experienced drivers making these mistakes? But, you kind of love it because it kind of it spiced it all up and made it so much more interesting and so much more tense. And you could tell that they were really pushing. But, yeah, this collision with Alguersuari, I don't know, the team must have told him in the radio, you've got to slow Di Grassi coming up. Because he went into that corner fast, realised, Di Grassi was there. Di Grassi wasn't all the way across, but he tried to get away from it. But on street circuits, as we all know, you try and get away from something, and there's a wall there to meet you in 5 seconds.
That's right.
And bam, he hit that wall.
Yep, and all credit to Sam Bird for taking advantage of the clear track. Just again, they seem to be struggling a little with their straight line speed. I'm going to have to watch back and see where he got up to if we got a ticker on that. But only fourth. I kind of expected more from him in having such a clear track, you know?
Yeah, from practice, obviously being fastest, but I didn't want to take too much time because, practice is just basically the same as testing.
Mm-hmm.
But, he had a good practice session, and you think, what could you take? And Virgin, yet again, they didn't have the best Chinese race, and, they look like they made the steps forward, and you can't count out Sam Bird or Hami Alguersuari or the team at Virgin. They're going to have a good package.
Yeah.
But you're hoping, like, maybe today, we were seeing some odd results. Maybe he could have snatched it, but... today it wasn't his day. He didn't hook up the sectors properly, so...
Exactly. And that Amlin Aguri looks like a bit of a handful.
It does look like a handful too. And I spoke to Mark Preston before the thing, and they were hoping to, try and go for top 5 in qualifying. They knew they had the speed, and they had the speed in China, and they proved it because Takuma Sato got the fastest lap, so they knew they had the speed in the car.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that they're just not being able to deliver it. And they did say they learn a lot from China, which they try and improve for Malaysia. But it hasn't actually, from qualifying down in 18th for Catherine Legg and 12th for Antonio Felix da Costa, it hasn't actually, proven that they've made a step forward that they were hoping to.
And look, you can say it was a compromised qualifying for them because they could have lost some time or some energy that they could have used to pull this a better lap out. And Da Costa did manage to tap the wall, so who knows what he would have done if he hadn't had that little bump. But he's a solid driver. I think he'll be able to perhaps move up the field. There's a few places to be gained from the midfield, and there's definitely a lot of places to be gained for Di Grassi and Alguersuari right at the bottom of the field, and Buemi. So from the top, we have Nicola Prost, who did a 121.779, who will drop to 11th, and that will put Oriol Serbia and Jerome D'Ambrosio on the front row, followed by Sam Bird and Daniel Abt. Jarno Trulli will be on the third row with Kieran Chandhok. PK Jr. will be next to Nick Heidfeld, Senna and Brabham, followed by Da Costa, Sarrazin, Montagny, Cerruti, Tung, Buemi, Legg, Alguersuari, and De Grassi. And we'll just wait and see whether there's any further fallout from the few of those little incidents. And if they are, stay tuned to both myself and Jack at Jack, you're at Formula E Zone on Twitter, correct?
Yep.
And
correct.
I'm at E_electric pod, and you'll get all of the latest updates. Jack's, and check out Jack's website. He has a great roundup of qualifying. And anything else you want to talk about from qualifying there, Jack?
No, I think we've covered all the bases. Hopefully we'll have a great race. Hopefully the race won't have too many DNFs, because if people keep hitting the walls like they did in qualifying, if they do that in the race, then we might not have many finishes.
It will be a thin field.
Yeah, so hopefully they sort out their lines before in the next couple of hours. But
and that threat of rain too.
Yeah, the clouds that definitely were coming in over the circuit, and that's why they moved the race 2 hours forward. And I'm a bit iffy on the tyres myself, because I've heard a lot of people say that these tyres won't perform. One, Bruno Senna, who I spoke to, is not too confident with the tyres, so hopefully the rain stays off.
Yes, definitely, because the last thing we want is just everyone to crawl around the circuit. It's just going to be, it's pathetic, and we don't need it. If that happens, they will have to change the tyre strategy.
100%.
But the good thing is the formula does seem quick to react and happy to make changes when they're needed. So that's not all the changes all of the drivers agree with, but I think it's great of them to not be set in their ways. So well, we've got just under 2 hours left, and we'll see you all. Thanks, Jack, for joining me, and we'll see you all in 2 hours for the race. At E-lectric, we welcome your feedback and inquiries. You can reach us on Twitter at E_lectric pod. That's E_electric _LECTRICPOD or via email podcast@e-lectrified.com. All music courtesy of Kevin McLeod at incompetech.com. Additional audio sourced under fair use. See show notes for sources. E-lectric and its presenters are in no way employed by, affiliated with, or endorsed by the FIA. All views expressed are those of the presenters and represent neither technical nor legal authority.